Hey everyone, my name's Dr. Matt Bertucci. I am an associate professor of fruit and vegetable production with the University of Arkansas System Division of Agriculture. And I really appreciate you joining us for our second webinar in the 2026 Compost Awareness Week. Today we will be talking with Clay Morton, who is an environmental science instructor with the Fayetteville High School system, and he'll be talking about composting with student-led initiatives in the Fayetteville Public School System district. Really impressive stuff. And we'll also be joined by Lance Grigsby, who's a master's student, but also is the director of sustainability for the Arkansas Student Union. And he'll be talking about how the Student Union on the University of Arkansas campus utilizes their hosting space, their cafeteria space, to compost, to recycle, to divert food waste, and we even get into a little bit about how they're using compost in their rooftop garden. So we're very excited that you've joined us for this, and I hope you enjoyed the conversation. Thank you.
Excellent. So thanks, Clay. Again, Clay's from Fayetteville High School, and will be talking to us a little bit about the composting that's occurring at their school and the student-led efforts.
Yeah, so I'll just give a really brief overview. The story is long and complex, but I teach environmental science, AP environmental science at the high school, and I've always offered the ability for students to do what I call year-long projects that are related to the content of the class. And I think 4 years ago, a student named Emmett Brick enrolled in my class, and he had done an internship with Food Loops, and he got really interested in food waste diversion. And people in the district we had started working with the city to divert some of our food waste from our cafeterias before the pandemic, but the pandemic, of course, shut that all down. And the district was reluctant to start that back up. But Emmett was passionate about it. And so I said, well, let's make a project out of it, and we'll just do a food waste audit of Fayetteville High School, the cafeteria, and we'll see if we can present to the board. And Emmett, we got a group of students together. They did a food waste audit. They worked with the city and collected some some tipping fees for the high school, and kind of evaluated a cost savings and did a wonderful presentation to the school board and asked for permission to start participating in the City of Fayetteville's food waste composting program at the high school. And so the school board was really impressed. They gave us the green light. The executive cabinet gave us the green light. And the next year we composted we started, well, no, it must have been the next year we started diverting food waste from the high school. There was a lot of contamination. And so we realized that the students in the district really need to be learning in small, like at an elementary level, so they know how to compost when they get to the high school. So I had another group of students that did a really ambitious project. We decided that we were going to try to evaluate the feasibility of participating district-wide. And so they did 3 waste audits. They did an elementary school, 2 elementary schools, and a middle school. And then they did the same thing. They looked at cost-saving data, and they extrapolated it to the entire district. And they presented that to the executive cabinet, and the executive cabinet was really impressed with the work that the students did, and they gave us the green light to start rolling out participation in all schools. And so for the last 3 years, we've been rolling out 3 elementary schools at a time. Last year, the district hired a sustainability specialist, Justin Keene, and last year he kind of managed those projects. I provide the students, and he managed those projects. Or that project, and we rolled out 3 schools last year, and we did 3 more this year. And I think at the end of next year, we'll have all elementary schools online, with the goal of getting every school online here in the next couple of years. So that's kind of the short suite of it.
No, a lot is going on there, and that's really, I'm very impressed, like, because I didn't realize the scope of it, until you and I spoke a little bit. Have you had any opportunity? You said the students did a presentation on it, and obviously there's a lot of learning opportunities and just communication, but they carried out the waste audits. Was that something you incorporated in your coursework and grades, or was this an additional activity?
So that's a great question. It is an additional activity.
Okay.
but it is a grade. So the students get they get a grade each semester for completion or for participation in the project. It's that is probably beyond the scope of this, but I offer numerous projects in my class, and they're all kind of the same. But if the students choose to participate in it, then and they stay the whole year, then they get a class credit. But all the work is done outside of class.
Okay. Do you think that I mean, but has your like career, like not your curriculum, but your course content benefited? Like I would imagine if you're talking environmental science, either you had the material, like are you able to utilize this as, real world examples for students in your classroom, you think?
Yeah, absolutely. All of the projects, you know, when curriculum comes up throughout the year that is related to the projects, then the projects become great real world examples. You know, and this we have a group of students that run the projects, but then the projects, depending on the project, it requires a lot more manpower. So other students in the class have the opportunity to participate, like on volunteer days when we need help with, like the NOMO projects when we do native landscaping, they can plant plants and there's a little education opportunity that goes along with that. So I think definitely the projects support the curriculum for all students because even if they're not participating in a project, they get to see. I think the relevance that their fellow classmates are doing the project. It does help ingrain the curriculum in them.
Sure. And I was thinking about this as you were talking about it. So this is a lot of, it's not as if they're composting on the campus site. It's not like you have a reserved heap. Is that anything students have learned about? Have they been able to see where it does end up getting composted? How's that been?
Yeah, so that's also a really good question. One of the field trips we run every year is what I call the waste stream field trip, and
Oh,
we
cool.
go to the transfer station first to see the recycling and see the waste, the municipal waste, and also see the food waste composting and the yard mulching. We see all of that. That's our first stop, and we go to the landfill, and we also go to the wastewater treatment plant, which is I love that field trip. It's really insightful.
Very cool. Yeah, and that's so for those of us, or for those of the attendees that were able to see yesterday's presentation, Fabian definitely spoke about the compost facility that we have, and it is an impressive thing. So I'm thrilled to hear that students get to see it because, I didn't see a waste transfer facility till I was probably 35 years old, and just it's a remarkable thing to understand what's happening on the back end. So that's great that the students get to see it. I had another question, given that you talked about, and I don't want to say the name, was it Emmett, the student that had the Food Loops
Yes, sir.
internship? That's very cool. So could you describe, was that a paid internship or was it a placement through the school program or, did he identify that opportunity independently?
So that's a good question. And I think that he just found that opportunity independently, and I think
Okay.
he was paid over the summer. But that actually, I'm not even sure. I think I'd heard of Food Loops before that, but that set up a relationship with somewhat of a relationship with Food Loops and Fayetteville High School. In that, when Food Loops, especially for like the Walmart shareholders event, she will reach out to me and I will help her recruit uh, people to work those large events where she needs a lot of
Nice.
people. And last year we had a lot of success recruiting a lot of students.
Oh, great. No, well, that's something Food Loops is a group that I've worked with, and they've been an interesting, component of the food waste composting for sure. So Fabian talked about yesterday the fact that we're one of 400 municipalities that accept food waste, and what's the motivation that's going to, because ultimately, like we have to compost yard waste. That's one of the ways that it has to be or that's the way that it's litigated. It has to be disposed of, and there are other states that have mandated food waste being composted as the way that it's handled, but when it's not the mandate, it has to just be somebody who's finding a way to make it profitable or somebody who's making it not such a painful expense. And they've been really good at partnering with commercial enterprises and getting the material. So they've been good communicators, and it's great to hear that they kind of got Emmett's ear and got a student's ear, and then affected so much downstream change. It's such an interesting thing to see. So that I really appreciate hearing that. Um, Let me see. Does the school ever get compost back and try to make use of it anywhere on their
Ah,
campus?
great question. Yeah, so we
Yeah.
just had Lance was just there. I could see him laughing. Um, so this is such a cool deal. We're really trying to affect change, positive, sustainable change in the district. And so one of the projects that I've been doing for the last couple of years is what we affectionately call the No-Mo projects. I mentioned that, where we rip up some turf and we place it with native landscaping. And that's a really cool project for so many reasons. But the tie is this year's No-Mo project. Um, when we did soil amendments, the city actually donated food waste compost.
Cool.
So that's a cool little cycle, that we provided them with food, they composted it, then they provided us with soil amendments for one of our projects.
That's very cool. That's great to hear. Because I think that one of the things that the city does with their collection is return a filled compost bucket. And I think sometimes, it might not be exactly what you put in the bucket that gets returned to you, of course, but it does kind of like give the consumer like, oh, we're generating this product. It's not just
Hmm.
because when you're only throwing things into the waste stream and not ever looking at the outputs, there's a disconnect there. So I really
Right.
appreciated that aspect of it, and so it's great that y'all got to circle back and get it onto your property as well. I think that's another aspect of, you produce the waste, or not produce waste, you capture the waste, divert the waste to generate that compost, and then to bring it back is a great thing for students. So
I
cool to
agree.
hear.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Oh, I know. So I've got this on my water bottle, this Let's Go Compost. It was a
Uh-huh.
national program I happened to see. And have you heard, or like, this is great that it seems like it's been, pretty organic in the sense that you just found the right players and started moving. But has there been any opportunities or seeking of national support or regional support from programs like that?
So that's a good question. We have when Emmett's after Emmett so it's been 4 years now, so the details are a little fuzzy. After Emmett's group presented to, all school board meetings are recorded.
Okay.
And so Emmett's group went and presented and that was recorded, and somehow that got into the hands of a national compost organization, and they actually reached out and they did a webinar or a podcast interview with the student group. So we've
Oh,
had a
cool.
little bit of national recognition, but this is, you have reached out to us, and then interestingly, a group from the university, the sustainability, I can't remember who they are right now, but they reached out. They want us to talk about our projects more in general, our sustainability projects that we're doing, the student-led ones. But I'm famously bad at self-promoting and advertising the good
Well,
work the students are doing.
I think that this is a flip side, like because for what it's worth, we approached you because something impressive has happened, right?
Hmm.
And it sounds like the other group approached you because something impressive happened. So that's independent of because this group is like pushing to try and make impressive things happen. And what they're doing is saying, well, gosh, Clay and his students have pulled it off, or maybe, when Lance speaks, Lance and his students have pulled it off. And so in a sense, we're riding your coattails. So don't, we're very proud of that work and we want to showcase it and say what a great job it is. So don't discredit yourself for not promoting. These are just people who are trying to share success stories more broadly. So I think that's really cool. I only bring up that Let's Go Compost group. I don't want to speak for them any more than they seemed like they were focused on elementary school and kind of had
Hmm.
like prepackaged educational material. So if you want to be like, what are the worms going to do for us? And maybe it talks about vermicomposting and things like that. And so it seemed to try and streamline building lesson plans from that material. And like
Hmm.
it might not work for somebody at your level trying to do AP environmental science stuff,
Sure.
but I think they're trying to do like what's a bite-sized environmental, curriculum that you could apply for a small grant if you're a middle school instructor in a district. And,
Well, it's a great point, because at least with my vision of education, and maybe my vision is the wrong vision, but I envision that not only do the schools participate in the food waste compost, but they actually learn about it in their curriculum. I
yeah,
would like to see sustainability on a larger scale, on a more broad idea, to be incorporated into every class, every year. And so students learn about it all the time, everywhere. And they actually learn about it through these authentic experiences in their school. And so it's one thing if we had an elementary school to have the Let's Go Compost curriculum, but it's way better if that compost curriculum is actually supporting the students learning because they're actually participating in food waste composting. That makes it,
Yeah.
that's where you knock the ball out of the park is by pairing those.
Yeah. I mean, I certainly that's kind of what I've thought. Like as I teach, I teach at the university level, and the more and more I work with compost, I'm just like, there's so many biology questions, and then there's environmental questions, and then there's just horticulture to talk about productivity, and so there's many ways you could approach it. Um, and you really just have to be like, what's my expertise, and how can I look at this with my expertise? Because I mean, quite frankly, a lot of my grant opportunities have been trying to link those people up. Like, this is somebody who works for waste management or Denali Refuse or, the city. And primarily, I'm looking at this as a waste problem. And then I have a bunch of farmers and, gardeners who see this as an input. They don't look at it like trash. And the EPA regulates it as an environmental hazard, whereas the USDA would consider it a soil amendment. And how do we make all these
Mhm.
bodies talk and talk effectively? And it's sometimes I get too far ahead of myself, but I think discussions like this, and of course in the classroom, speaking where your expertise is helps a lot. So, um, I had another thought, and I just was curious. So, do you compost any at home, or are you in Fayetteville? Are you able to participate in the food waste composting?
I am in Fayetteville, and I thought about participating in the food waste program, but I'm also very greedy with my money, and I have a good backyard compost, so I'm
Sure.
composting for free in my backyard. So
Well, and I
I
think
opted
it's
out.
Yeah, I think it's something that, we push, oh, everybody should compost. Everybody should compost. It's like, well, if you're leasing, I don't think you can just start a pile agreeably with every landlord. That might not be something that's super well received. And if you're in an apartment, it can be even more difficult. So I think it's a great program. And I actually asked Fabian on the last call, I was like, can I just check? Because like she's very happy with the participation. Like I think it's rolled out very well. And I said, are you all looking like you have 500 participants and you wish you had 500 more, or you're like, that's all we can handle? And she said, we want more. So if
Hmm.
you're interested, certainly, I was telling her one of my favorite things is like, I have things that I cannot get in my compost pile.
Right.
I finish a crawfish boil and I've got, all these shells, and it's like, that's not going in my compost pile. And maybe it might fill up a 5 gallon bucket pretty quick,
Yeah.
but there's certain things that the city can handle that a home composting pile might struggle to process and break down as thoroughly.
I mean, that's absolutely true. And I should participate just for no other reason than I should be supporting the systems that I want us to have happen. But
Well,
it's
that's
kind of
right.
like mass transit, I mean, if we really want people to take mass transit, like all the studies have shown that the best way to get people to do it is just make it free. If it's free, people will participate.
You hear that, Fabian? You're on the call. Make it free. Snap your fingers.
Hi, Fabian. Fabian does great work.
Yeah, we're just teasing. Um, Well, yeah. So then that I may have, funneled all my questions. If anyone on did you have anything you wanted to share on your screen, by the way, Clay? I didn't want to.
I was fumbling through here. My screen it's got, well, on my end, it's got these blotchy things. It doesn't seem to be responding well to me wanting to look through my folders.
No worries. The only thing I have is the Fayetteville like district page, and it's not that it's unremarkable. It's like one little icon. So
Yeah.
I won't burden people with just looking at like, a website as a shared screen, but I see a question did pop up. Let me grab that. Oh, am I correct that even if you aren't subscribed to a food waste for pickup, you can drop food waste at the Marion Orton or Happy Hollow drop-offs? I'm gonna make Fabian a co-host if he wants to chat, but that is my understanding. So that was a question. If you aren't a participant in the food waste pickup program, there are places to put your food waste compost um, that you don't need to just like throw it in the trash. I know at the Fayetteville Public Library, there's these drop-off boxes. There's like a model where you have to actually scan a QR code and you promise or you read you it's kind of like the terms of service. You agree, there aren't plastics in this. There's no uncooked meat. And so you say, I agree, I agree, I agree. And then it gives you the code, like, 7731. You type that in, it opens up and you can dump your, material in. I definitely did that after Thanksgiving. I had a bunch of turkey bones and I had made a stock. And then I just had all these bones. And I was like, I don't know what to do with this. I can't, I don't want to throw it in my trash. I don't know. And I was like, oh, sure enough, I can just drive over to the library, key it in and drop that off. So there's many opportunities. Um, though I'm not certain the locations. I can pull that up maybe when Lance is speaking. Um, sorry, I got a text message checking if anyone else. No. Okay, so well, Clay, I do appreciate it. I think that that's some really cool stuff in terms of the students, educational opportunities, their involvement. I'm really impressed with students getting in front of the school board. That's a really big ask for a, 14, 15-year-old to try and speak and advocate for something. And after all the work and on top of that to do that, it's very, very impressive. And I think I know with the Let's Go Compost movement, they talked about behavioral change. And so the idea of, seeing food waste as something that should be composted as opposed to just thrown in the trash. And it's not that hard of a thing to do if that's your first impression. Like you're done with your PB&J,
Hmm.
you're a picky kid and you don't eat the crust. Well, that goes in the compost bin, not in the trash. And if you just see it like that, to ask somebody, an old dog, hard to teach an old dog new tricks, to ask somebody to change how they maneuver through their household or how they maneuver through their business may be tricky. But if they learn it from the start, like, oh, this is the most appropriate way to handle food waste, uh, it's actually not that big of a chore. It's not that difficult. So I think, letting people know that that's one of the most sustainable ways, environmentally friendly ways to handle that type of byproduct, that type of waste is very helpful. Uh,
I agree.
I'm able to chat, but on my phone, so I'm not sure if I'm able. Sorry. Okay, let me do this, Fabian. Let me see if I can ask you to unmute. I made you co-host. And then just in case Fabian wanted to comment on the food waste, she would be the authority. Oh, there you go, Fabian. So sorry.
No, it started. I was in my car listening. I had a lunch and learn somewhere in person today. But you were right with the question on can we drop our food waste off? And it is free. So if folks want to not pay for anything, just their time, they can go to 8 drop-off locations. And Ozark Smokehouse on the west side of town is our newest drop-off. So if folks are on that side of town, they don't have to go all the way to Marion Orton. We also have one at Bryce Davis on the west side of town as well. So that one is right there by the Bryce Davis Park. But yes, and I love to think about people doing stuff in their backyard. That's still full participation. I want to claim that as like, yeah, hallelujah. And then if there are things that you don't, like you said, your crawfish foils, if you have, a big party, you have a lot of folks bringing things that are processed and you want to make sure those don't end up in the landfill, then just take them to one of our free drop-offs.
Okay. And don't forget that biodegradable doesn't always mean compostable. It's an important thing because, well, the compost stream is very sensitive to contamination. Is that right,
It
Fabian?
is, yeah, it is. And there's, excuse me, a lot of greenwashing, unfortunately. People are noticing that composting is a great idea and they want to do the right thing. And they're going to some providers that I will leave unnamed, and they're buying things that say they're biodegradable and you can put your food waste in them. And they end up being a petroleum-based plastic
Mm.
that has, some components of a bioplastic, but inherently their chemistry is still not compostable. So that's why that third party certification is so important. We use BPI that company as, the look for that symbol, but there's like 3 or 4 companies that are doing this now. I think there actually might be 5, but I don't want to tell anybody wrong. There's definitely 3 for sure. And, just looking for that third-party certification, that it was tested not only for compostability, but for safety, to become part of that amendment. Because if we do put things that are plastic, petroleum based, and those break down to microplastics, that is going into our food system. So we want to just be sure that we're mindful at doing our due diligence and checking, because sometimes the tags are a little tricky on what the product actually is.
Well, yes, and it's the sensitivity can even just be. I mean, I feel like I've seen literal goldfish bags where you're like, this wasn't even compostable. You just like it just got into the wrong bin.
Great. So that's a great actually takeaway for the psychology behind how people understand things. So, we'll put on the sign food waste, food waste.
Mm,
Well, what is that package? It's food waste. So I think
okay.
some people get a little bit, broader understanding of what they see as food waste, and that's why those packages end up in there. They're like, oh, well, this is the waste from my food. It should go in there. So, that's another conversation totally. But I think that
Well,
minds are trying to be in the right place, but they don't have a full understanding.
yeah, and that's what did I say? It was like everybody looks at this material from their own lens, right? And so the farmers have their perspective of it, the consumers have the people who produce the compost have their perspective. So all of this talking can help. So, so thank you for showing up and thanks for unmuting. We really appreciate it, Fabian. Lance, would you mind? And thank you, Clay. I really appreciate your time. Would you mind, Lance, if you have something to share, you're welcome to share your screen, but do you mind if we get started with talking to you about the union?
Absolutely. Are you still covering the rooftop garden in another place, or would you like me to bring that up here?
Go ahead and bring it up. I have some images if it's needed. I took a couple pictures of James and the students. But yeah,
Sure.
we should discuss it. We should.
I also have just some quick slides that were meant for something else that would be great pictures to go with this. So I'm going to share my screen.
Excellent.
So hello, I'm Lance Grigsby. I'm the Assistant Director of Operations at the University of Arkansas at their Arkansas Union. We are a department within the Division of Student Affairs. And okay, we're sharing. Moving some stuff around here. So you see here the Arkansas Union Sustainability Team. I am their staff advisor and supervisor for that team. Let's see here. This picture is about 6 months old. We do have some new members. We have 3 interns and we have 6 specialists. We deal with just about everything that you could think of with sustainability, including education, including green space and biodiversity, sustainable events, recycling, waste diversion in general, and data. We work very closely with campus partners and NWA stakeholders. As we were mentioning earlier, Clay and I just saw each other at the Fayetteville Public Schools Sustainability Leadership Summit. Very happy to be involved with that program, and an amazing program and something to be very, very proud of there. I'm gonna keep on here. So we have plenty of time for questions. So first stop is in our system. We do have a full food waste system here put in place. This is what we call our sustainability stations. These are on each floor of the Arkansas Union. We have 6 floors. Just to let you know, the Arkansas Union is about a 250,000 square foot facility. Everyone on campus has to come here. We have tons of services, including the campus card office. Everyone has to have an ID, so everyone has to come to the Arkansas Union. The idea behind the sustainability stations is that we are educating people while diverting waste. We use our televisions to market anything sustainability around campus or Northwest Arkansas area. Right now, it has a lot of advertisements for upcoming courses that people can take over the summer and in the fall semester. This is some older pictures on our This one right here, I don't know if you can see my cursor, but the picture on the right here, in this space up to the right of the television, now has the Eco Coalitions Board, which is a registered student organization that's involved with these types of things. You'll notice here, this is our A3 living room sustainability station. It's probably the busiest room in the building, kind of our flagship area. You'll see we have an organics waste bin here. And then down here on the second floor, the left picture here, we have an organics bin here. At the moment, these are the two publicly available organics waste bins. We do have others that I'm about to get to, but I'll let you know that the other great thing about being in the Arkansas Union, in this one case, is that it's very 1984 in this facility. There's cameras all over the place, and we can I enjoy watching people interact with the stations, which informs a lot of the behavioral aspects of this. And I can tell you nowadays, over the last year, from these stations, we have very, very little, if any, contamination in the bins. Moving forward, here's a little bit here's the organic signage that we have. This was developed by our first intern. We go for a little bit more in our signage here at the Arkansas Union. We are trying to educate people here, so we do have more visuals. And then a not allowed and why. Our students, most everyone these days, they don't want to just be told no, they want a why too. And we want to give that why. There's no problem. And you might notice, of course, we do have BPI certified compostables here listed. Chartwell's Dining Services and Ozark Catering, which is a part of Chartwell's, runs dining and food services on campus. They've been an amazing partner. I can't say enough about them. Usually when I go them, hey, you guys want to do this? They're already doing it in some sort of way. And they do have several BPI containers. However, something I was saying this morning is BPI containers cost more than the regular containers that are not compostable. If there is not a system in your facility or around that can divert the BPI materials to a compost heap, that is just extra wasted money, and it's not a very good business decision. It's not sustainable, is what we would say from the economic side of things. But like it says, we have not allowed here, and we have whys. Moving forward, we are looking at going around the building and expanding into several office suites. There are 12 different departments that work out of the Arkansas Union. We're kind of the proprietors of the building, if you were. This picture right here is from our multicultural center, which expands most of the fourth floor. I was in a meeting that I heard that I forget how many tens of thousands of cups of coffee they give out a year, but students can come here and get breakfast. You can see some cereals there and coffee for free here on the fourth floor at Multicultural. And after I heard the amount of coffee that they were going through, we very quickly got one of these 4-gallon green bins down there where we're directly we've entered their coffee compost into our system. And I didn't mention this earlier. I'm also a graduate student here in the architecture school, getting a master's in environmental resiliency. And the great thing about that is school and my job have kind of intertwined. So I'm not going to talk about killing two birds because that would be inappropriate for this meeting, but it really does feel that way. A part of one of my projects for a course is expanding our office suite diversion. And I've got 4 stakeholders within 4 different office suites that are wanting to expand. So we're about to quadruple the amount of offices that we're picking up from. My student workers, core team members do pick up all of the things we've discussed so far. This is a core initiative that we have. We have our food court compost initiative. This runs for 2 hours during Monday lunch, 2 hours during Monday through Thursday dinner. This initiative, this table you're seeing is just right in front of the table would be our food court, which of course is busy at night. It does have a Chick-fil-A, which is dangerous, food-wise. We have a lot of people coming up to that. This semester alone, now we are taking post-consumer products, including the BPI materials, which has more mass but is lighter weights than pure food waste. So you'll have a bag of food waste coming out of the Chartwell's kitchen, which they all are also diverting pure food waste from their kitchen. And it's just about this big and weighs more than two bags we have that are completely full because of a lot of ours are BPI materials, more mass,
Mm.
less weight. This initiative here has core team members that work the table. We're also giving out information. We've got some advertisements there. You might see just right in the middle here, we have two advertisements for initiatives that we were doing at the time. Here was a Green Career Series with Peter Nierengarten from the city of Fayetteville. And here is one of our insight forums that had Taylor Osborne from the Boston Mountain Solid Waste District. So we're very happy to get them involved. There are also volunteers in this initiative, and they help us go around to the other bins around the food court, and we pick through those trash bins to get what can be composted out of there. This cement last year in 2025, from this initiative by itself, we diverted about 1,200 pounds. We are kind of getting going on
Wow.
this initiative and starting this semester by itself, we've hit about 2,600 pounds. I asked a couple of our interns, what was the change? What was the change? Um, I had to go back and look at the cameras to make sure this was true. They were kind of in a professional and considerate way, getting up in people's faces a little bit about this, even a little bit of yelling. Just bring us your food waste, that kind of stuff. Apparently, that's what really did it. And we have signage at all the other trash cans saying, we are diverting. Please bring this to the front of the food court. And then just a last note on this. Chartwell's Dining. I'm also over the union custodial team here, so a couple of hats there. Our custodians don't go into the food court. Chartwell's has their own custodians that handle trash and cleaning. That Chartwell staff is bringing us their full bags of trash, and we will pick through it. And the neater thing is there, something that was discussed earlier in Fayetteville Public Schools, is that means these bags are lighter weight, and there's no reason to put this bag, which is now half full rather than full, back into the trash can. So we're also utilizing fewer plastic bags there. Moving forward, just a little quick tip here, or a quick shot here of our loading dock. Here's three of our bins from the city of Fayetteville. You'll see a couple of these have gray tape. That is for my team with our post-consumer divertibles. The ones without tape are from Chartwell's, and our food pantry that is not very far from our building at all brings up their city bin, just to keep the logistics manageable for the city as much as possible. They bring that bin up once a week. We only have one more here, and just a picture of where it all ends up. Know that I heard your question earlier, Matt, and I'll go ahead and answer it. The city's compost is utilized in this facility and many, many other projects around campus. So it's pretty wonderful to see. I am now going to, okay, I'm going to stop sharing that, and I'm going to share one more, and this will just take a couple of minutes. The Arkansas Union does have a rooftop pepper garden. Okay, it's not doing it all at once, so I'll move it
Oh,
away.
wow. Nice picture.
Can you guys see this?
We're seeing your desktop of the mountains, but I did see the slide for a moment.
Okay, just a moment.
I had off-season pictures of the peppers, so they weren't as impressive. It's like, oh, look at these that have
I
expired.
promise it's going to look great in no time. Yeah, yeah. Are you guys able to see it now by chance?
It's still the other, it's still your desktop. I saw for a moment, I saw well, there's the slides. Let's see
Is
if
it
we
back?
yeah, let's see if we get it in presenter mode or present.
One
Oh,
more try here. I got an idea. That
I'm going to remind everyone, don't forget, if you've got a question for Lance, if you want to type it in, by all means, I'll continue to communicate with him and ask questions. I didn't want to interrupt you, Lance, as you went. Um,
Sure, sure. And I'm just gonna, can you guys see this now?
yeah, we can see that. I mean, sorry that it's just the screen, the window, but we can see it.
Okay, sure. I don't know if that made it better or worse. Anyway, the so this is a picture of our rooftop garden here at the Arkansas Union. This was built and at first managed and purchased by Chartwell's Dining. Everything grown up here are jalapeno peppers. These go to our dining halls and are put into our food. We are wanting to expand these. Here's just a couple more pictures here. Here is a couple of our students and core team members, volunteers that help make that happen. And this is a little satellite picture of where that is on top of our roof. And our green space specialist, James Huff, who manages this space now, has found space for that many more on the roof, which here in just next week is when our new development intern is going to start her job. And her job is mainly to help us come up with a plan to expand our rooftop garden. Very much looking forward to it. But I am here for questions and I am here for
Sure, Lance.
conversation. Thanks for the time. Yeah.
Yeah, I really appreciate it. Thank you for sharing all that, and I'll keep an eye on the questions as people type things in. But I had a couple, and one thing I wanted to point out. So you had students, it sounded like, going into previously discarded materials and even sorting. Is that something that's happening for compost, or is that just recycling? I forget. Like
For both.
for both, for both.
We're going in for both of that. Yeah.
Okay, because that's something
This is
that's
a full program.
that is a huge barrier, as Fabian mentioned. Like they see it as food waste, but the packaging is not the compostable portion of it. And so, whether it's the hard work of people sorting, or there's even commercial operations that are depackaging operations, that's a major added step. So it's obviously easier if you give this, I mean, the city can only accept the sorted food waste. They can't take all this contaminated material. But there are facilities that, exist commercially and elsewhere that are depackaging operations. And I have seen that, in North Little Rock, there's a composting facility that actually depackages processed foods. And, it's a very intensive activity. So we want to make sure that we're preparing and sorting and that the consumers understand when you're discarding the rest of your sandwich, you don't wrap it up in the wrapper and then throw it in the compost. If it's the Chick-fil-A aluminum wrapper thing,
Yeah.
you'd have to discard just the sandwich, just what can be composted. I'm glad to hear that you were kind of like Big Brother watching those stations because I wanted to ask you, I was curious, you know, how effective the pictures are, the signage, and it sounds like even just direct intervention from volunteers can be. What's the most effective way to get people to put the thing into those bins in your experience? Is it more bins being available? Is it, communicating to them? How do we get more people to put it where it needs to go?
I'm going to talk from the perspective of our campus community and
Sure.
everything. Um, if the education is there, they'll know what bin to put it in. We are not
Yeah.
quite there yet
Yeah.
when it comes to lone bins. I think the reason why our public bins are working so well as they are is because we have strategically located those. The one in our living room is right by where the Wild Greens are restaurant, which is
Um,
mostly a vegetarian restaurant
okay.
and everything. They have all kinds of local sourcing going on there. And then the other one that is on the second floor is just outside of the Center for Community Engagement, which is heavily involved and has their own sustainability positions there. Funny story about them. I put our first one by itself in the living room, and one day I went and I found 20 pounds of slowly rotting whole potatoes and found out that that came from the food pantry. So I said, well, let's just put a bin down on the second floor, and we have a lot of advocates there. I will say this, one of the main things that I notice is that when you're not going to beat in general the person with the knowledge standing by the bin, the food loops model and everything, which we have seen and we have so. So it's a great model there. But what I will say is we see a lot of supervisors and managers bringing new employees, new student employees, or their student groups up to the stations on their own and teaching them about what they're seeing.
Very cool. And that was going to be my next question was, you know, Clay and the Fayetteville, Fayetteville High School has its, ability to communicate and interact, but then they go district wide. And I think it's an interesting, the university is different than a lot of people might realize that, I'm in Bumpers College at the University of Arkansas, and there's Walton College of Business, and there's, the School of Design. There's all these different colleges, and we may not interact very often, but then when we all go get our lunch or walk through the union or have a joint meeting, we're going to use y'all's shared event spaces. And so the student union is the one spot where we all show up. And how do you interact with, our insular siloed community? Do you find yourself saying the same thing to different communities over and over again? And how do you recruit students in that way? Are you looking at students from a particular program, or is it across the whole campus, do you think?
So the best thing about working in the department of the Arkansas Union is collaborating with the rest of campus and the rest of the university system. I never would have thought that I would enjoy being a bureaucrat, but I sure do. And meeting new people, seeing where they're sitting. I hope you guys don't mind me saying, but a lot of times, a couple of people around the department has called me Father Grigsby a couple of times. People come up to me with their sustainability confessions. I give them the information that they need and then go tell them to crush 10 cans and they're fine. It is really the same issues. It's just a lack of understanding of basics. Decomposition was already mentioned. The packaging was already mentioned. These are the main things. But a lot of times I like to also talk about sourcing when they bring these things up. But like you're saying, we're working more and more on breaking down silos. Again, being at the Arkansas Union, breaking down silos and working with others is in my job description. That is a part of what we do. And we can't make this facility run without the cooperation of others. So that's what I would say there. But it is a pillar of ours to bring together what we call institutional sustainability, academic sustainability, and the Northwest Arkansas sustainability industry into this building. That's the idea. Get us under the same roof and start talking. As for recruiting for the student team, there are James Huff, who his position, environmental stewardship and green space specialist. It is our one position that does have a minimum requirement of being enrolled in a major directly tied to the world of sustainability in the environmental sense. So a lot of times it's going to be environmental water soil science students that show up here. Every one of our positions has a preferred qualification mentioning being involved in some academic program in sustainability. There is a minor program of sustainability on campus. There are several certificates and related things through the architecture school and of course the ag school, containing all kinds of opportunities there. The student, I have a sustainable event specialist. I have an environmental education specialist. I have an outreach specialist, marketing intern, data intern, recycling specialist. The two that are most relevant for now is James, the green space specialist, and Hannah, our food waste diversion specialist on those. The wonderful thing.
Those are both undergraduate students.
Yeah, everyone
Nice.
is an undergraduate in our team except for Hannah Woolley, who is that incoming union development specialist. She is a graduate student through the agriculture school. And recruiting, I need, when I'm working with people, this field that I'm in, I pulls in so many 4.0s and double majors and everything I would say it's a great problem to have, but it's not a problem. I
Yeah.
guess the problem would be choosing between them. That's the hardest part. But what I look for on this, is I'm looking for a lot of self-starters. I'm looking for activators. I'm looking for people that can envision a future from 5 years from now. Because just to put it out to everybody, the University of Arkansas system does have two major sustainability goals. One is carbon neutrality by 2040, and the other, which gets me every time, I kind of chuckle every time because we got to figure it out, 90% waste diversion from the landfill, which is going to be a challenge and definitely includes food waste. So long-winded answer, but there we are.
Well, no, that's great because I realized I made that a complex question. So good job remembering all of what I asked. And I
Yeah.
was going to just follow up because I think that, as I said, as compared to what Clay is approaching, he's the direct educator in the classroom and he used this experience, whereas you're not in the classroom, but you're facilitating other people who are using your spaces to teach or using your programs to teach, which is just really good. And I'll finish up. I will comment. So James Huff, your sustainability what was his position title? I apologize.
My favorite title, Environmental Stewardship and Green Space Specialist.
Okay, so he is working as he's got an Eco REU, a research experience for undergraduates scholarship, and he'll be working under my direction. So I'm a professor in horticulture, and here I am. I have the opportunity to work with James, teach him about research experiments, and make access, of this greenhouse, or excuse me, the greenhouse, the rooftop garden. So I can share briefly. Let's see if I can pull up the picture because let's see. Yeah, here's one. Oh, I see some. Did somebody put in the chat? He's a treasure. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So let me share my screen too. So here's my crew. We went up there. This was just a few weeks ago, or not a week, it was a week ago maybe. We mixed up compost from the city, thanks Fabian, and different ratios of potting mix. So we did compost to potting mix at, 50-50, more compost than potting mix, more potting mix than compost, or 100% compost or 100% potting mix. And we're going to look at the effect of those substrates on the peppers in this rooftop garden. So James is going to get to do production partnered with Chartwells. The peppers are still going to be safe for consumption and growing right there on the rooftop union. Um, and he's also going to be, involved in a, reputable NSF grant program. So I think that this is a win all around that we get to work on the union. We're using compost. It's going into a garden. It's producing food that's being consumed in the union. And then hopefully it's, anything that's not consumed in the union is going back right into the compost so that we can grow more peppers. We can do different things. That's something I'm really excited about. And as a horticulture professor, unless I were working with Lance and communicating, this is something that would just not be an opportunity for us. We don't have these facilities for rooftop at least. So, I don't get to go on top of buildings and look and see Razorback Stadium across the way. That's pretty cool. So we
Don't
very
go out there during game days.
um, no,
Don't spook some people.
we very much appreciate it. So I didn't see any further questions. I think people might be on devices where it's kind of hard to to type in. But if y'all have any last minute questions, feel free to type it in. If not, I'm going to bring up shamelessly one more time. And Lance, you don't think you're welcome to this as well. Our May 8th field day, where we're doing a compost giveaway. We're going to be in Washington County's Cooperative Extension Office in the Master Composter Garden, doing some demos on how to compost if you want to do it at home. We'll also have some other materials about, more detailed things. Just a question from Colin Massey as to whether Clay and y'all might still be neighbors. He says, thanks, y'all. Great work. Thanks to both of our speakers. Colin says he's just a few blocks away on the other side of route. So, okay. Well, I really do appreciate everyone. Thank you, Lance. Thank you, Clay. Very proud of the work that y'all's students have done and what y'all are doing directing them. It's really, really cool work, and I'm glad to be part of it. So thank you both.
I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you so much.